Unit 5. Listening. Part 3. Exercise 2.
Being a jockey was always my dream. I started training to be a jockey in 2007, but I didn't take part in a race until 2009. I came last, by the way. The hardest thing about being a jockey is having to stay thin. That means I can't eat a lot of things like ice cream, which I don't really like anyway, or chips, which are my favourite. I have to take a lot of exercise to stay fit and to keep thin. Today, I weigh 55 kilos, but before a race, I try to get down to 53 kilos. I keep my weight down by eating healthily. I've got used to this, so I don't mind too much. So, for example, I never have a fried egg for breakfast, just fruit and one slice of toast. People say racing is too dangerous, but I love it. I've been injured once or twice, though. A couple of years ago, I broke my shoulder, and 2 years before that, I broke my knee.
Unit 5. Listening. Part 3. Exercise 3.
I work as a scientist and spend about 10 weeks every year in Antarctica. Most of the time we're in the science lab, but we often go on trips to study the ice. The longest I've spent camping on the ice was 10 days, but I only did that once. Usually our trips last 4 days. It's a very beautiful environment, but it can be dangerous. I've seen a lot of people with frozen toes, which is very painful. The worst that's happened to me is getting dry lips, which can get very sore. We have to eat a lot when we're outside because it's so cold and eating hot food is the best way to stay warm. But sometimes it's hard to cook because the wind is so strong. We eat a lot of high-energy biscuits, and some of my colleagues eat raw fish, but I hate the taste, so I always refuse. We often eat the same thing every day. A lot of soup, for example, so it can be a bit boring. What I really look forward to is having a curry at my favorite Indian restaurant. I miss that a lot while I'm away from home.
Unit 5. Listening. Part 3. Exam task. You will hear a man called Pete Russell giving a talk about an extreme camping trip. For each question, fill in the missing information in the numbered space.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for coming along to find out about our extreme camping trip. Before I start, can I remind you about the training day? Because it will probably rain tomorrow, we've decided to do this on Saturday instead of Thursday. If you want to come on the trip, you must attend. We're starting at 8:30, so make sure you're there on time. There are different ways to experience extreme camping, but on our trip, it means bringing no food or water with you. We're going to eat only what nature can provide. But don't worry, I'm sure you won't be hungry. We're camping at Sandy River, and it's easy to find lots of delicious fruit and vegetables nearby, which you can eat raw. I expect some of these will be quite unfamiliar to you, but your guide will make sure you only eat what's safe. There are also other types of food you can find. The guide will show you where to look for eggs. There are other places you can look for these apart from trees. For example, some birds leave them in holes in the ground or in the grass like snakes do. Something that's surprisingly good to eat is insects. These are really good for you and actually very tasty. And I'm not talking about flies and wasps. The ones I'm talking about are much bigger. I promise you'll love them. Because you really have to be an expert to be successful, one thing you won't have to do on this trip is hunting. You don't want to waste time and end up with nothing to eat. Now, of course, we're not bringing any cooking equipment like a camping cooker or a frying pan, so you're going to learn how to cook your food on a hot rock, which is heated underneath by fire. It's a bit slower than using a normal cooker, but works surprisingly well. Now what about drinks? You'll have to live without juices and hot chocolate, I'm afraid. You'll get all the water you need from rivers and streams, but you must remember to boil it for at least 3 minutes to make sure it's safe to drink. Right, so before I continue, I'll answer any questions you've got about food. By the way, there's a very good website which...